Atlanta United Fan TV, 5-3 on aggregate, 4-0 win, and a Joseph brace ain't too bad, right? And we kind of, we just really turned it around when we really needed to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, starting it off with the goal in the first minute of the game with Joseph Martinez, they didn't even touch the ball yet, and the ball was in the back of the net. Breck Shea, really from the get-go, great play in from the left side. From that wing-back position, he was disciplined, but really they didn't offer him too much in terms of attacking him. But, you know, in terms of teams that don't, you know, attack, he did well. I mean, he had a good performance. It was much better than Bello, not really shade on Bello, but he showed his experience. Right. But to get a goal that quickly and then to follow it up just a few minutes later, it's 2-0 inside the, first 10 or so minutes, really gave Atlanta a platform to build from. And Herediano, I don't know if they had a game plan or if they never recovered, but they didn't offer too much throughout that match. And it really could have been home and host way before that fourth goal finally went in.
Indeed, indeed. But I think definitely big shout out to the 17s for really showing out and really making 10,500 sound really, really big.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was glad to see that they moved the supporter section from that kind of standing area to actual stands because it was just a wall of noise, and they were loud, they were rowdy, they were proud the whole game. Big shout-outs to the 17s because that building was packed. It felt completely different to the U.S. Open Cup usually, which is more of a family atmosphere, not as loud. It's exciting, but it's not the same. That was a real game here, and it felt good. But that being said, I'll be very happy to get back to the home sweet home that is Mercedes-Benz Stadium for that second leg against Monterrey.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. And it's something that we were hoping to avoid that conversation, and we definitely avoided it by winning because, yeah, that was a whole conversation and a thing that it's a can of worms that we didn't want to open, but thankfully we don't have to. But with us moving on, and then we have the DC United match coming right up. I mean, this congestion is going to get crazy, and I think were the subs, I think, did they make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Tito honestly could have come on earlier. Herediano, again, they were woeful. There was a lot of space in behind. I wish Atlanta United had tried running the channels a little bit earlier into the game because how their fullbacks were playing, the space that was there, it was made a little bit more difficult by the fact that it's a tiny pitch here at Kennesaw, so there's not a lot of space between, you know, where that high line, which Herediano was playing, and the goalkeeper. So they didn't really have too much they could do there, but that ball was on a lot. And I think you could see Tito Villalba was given that instruction to try to exploit that very quickly. And, you know, we did end up getting that fourth goal, but the subs to me made sense. Herediano, again, they didn't offer much. If Atlanta United could have taken their chances, it really could have been done a lot quicker. And if they had done that, you could have gotten some of the subs on earlier, getting Joseph off earlier, getting Pitti off earlier, getting Nagby off, honestly. I think Nagby is a player that I would have liked to see come off because he's so important to what he does, to what, you know, Atlanta United do. And you could see that tonight with him and Remedi in midfield. They played so much better. But at the end of the day, you get a 4-0 result. You move on to the next round. After that absolute horror show that was the first leg, you can't complain too much. Right,
indeed. Now, in terms of the starting lineup, is that the starting 11 for you? Or, I mean, a lot on social media, everybody's calling for Barco's head and, you know, wanting to start Tito. I mean, I wanted to start Loretowitz, and Remedi started, and I think Remedi definitely, I take that L. He deserves his place. But in terms of Barco, how did you see him coming on?
I mean, it really depends on who you're playing against. I think Tito Villalba was a player that absolutely will start against DC this weekend because DC are going to be a lot more aggressive. They're going to play higher up the pitch. There's going to be more space for him to exploit. He's a player that is much better suited to a game that's more open, where he can be more direct, where he has space to run into, where he can run at players. You're not going to get that if a team is sitting deep or if you're playing on a small pitch. That's just not what his game is. You're going to get more of that quick technical control from Ezequiel Barco. And yeah, he had a really good game tonight. He still has places where he can improve. I still think he needs to release the ball quicker. I still think he needs to make his decisions a bit quicker. And sometimes not be looking to go down. He had a chance where he probably could have scored, but he decided to go down. And yeah, he's still a young guy. He's 19 years old, but I think he could pay attention a bit to what PT Martinez is doing and sometimes maybe release the ball quicker or be a bit more decisive in what he wants to do and trying to take that shot on because he had some chances, but I think calling for his head's a bit ridiculous. He'll continue to improve. He was much improved from the first leg. Really, the whole team was. In terms of in the middle of the park, I think if you're going to play the 3-4-3, you have to play Remedi and Nagby together because they're the only two players. You're going to be a bit light. You only have 2 men in the center of the park. They're the two guys that have the most legs. They can do the most running. They're the smartest tactically in terms of being able to get to that position and cover it. With Lorenowitz, he's suited to having a 3-man midfield because he can sit at the base and have the other two do all the work. He's not going to give you the running and cover the space you need. He makes up for it very similar to Parkhurst with his knowledge and his positioning. He knows where to be and how to control it and reset the play. If you're going to play a 2-man midfield, I think it has to be Remedi and Nagby. Nagbe. But also, with this early season and being in Champions League, you're going to have to rotate. And you can't run those guys into the ground because you're going to need them later in the season.
And what's going to be interesting is that we really only have 2 defensive midfielders. And Anderson Asiedu still hasn't really been signed, whether he's still on trial or if there's maybe some international slot issues, whatever it is. Yeah, I mean, we're going to be a little light there.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, obviously, they've tried to address squad depth in certain signings with Breck Shea, with Florentine Pogba. It'll be interesting to see when Florentine Pogba makes the 18 because he wasn't on the bench again tonight. But I think you might see him on the bench against DC. Who knows? I think Breck Shea really showed his quality for us today. And you know that he's a player that you can move around and play in a few positions if you have to. But yeah, that middle of the park, you really only have 3 out-and-out central midfielders. Lorenowitz, Nagbe, and Remedi. That's really it. And
Kevin Kratz is there.
Kevin Kratz is there, but he's been, I think, injured in a way. He's a player that I think will play a lot more this season because of this rotation that we'll have to play. But in terms of legs, you only have 2 guys that can really cover a lot of ground. And if you're going to play a 3-4-3 with 2 men in midfield, you have to be able to cover ground. And that's not something you really get out of Kratz or Lorenowitz.
Yeah. Final thoughts, Dash.
4-0, happy days, good result. You know, excellent to turn around that first leg defeat, which was really disappointing. But I think you have to take it with a grain of salt because Herediano were absolutely terrible. Much sterner tests await. DC United will tell us a lot this weekend. And I think that Monterrey next week, that'll be a real test about seeing where Atlanta United is as a team. They have to go away first, I believe. I hate that the turnaround's so quick because it'll be difficult for fans to make their travel arrangements because, let's be honest, how many fans thought we might be going through after that first leg? But we'll see. I mean, it's a good result. Still haven't lost back-to-back games in, I believe, over 2 years now, since 2017. So we'll see how that goes. But 4-0 win, end of the day, you have to be pretty happy as a Five Stripe fan.
Indeed. Love it. Thank you.